Good morning, it's Torte de Lini. Before I start, can you guys let me know in the comments if you prefer these videos with the jazz music that I'm playing now, or gameplay sounds of Dota like you heard in my Batrider video, or you just want my voice and nothing else. It would help me a lot in understanding what you guys prefer when you listen to these videos, and if the other sounds are distracting or more what you expect. Thanks. Now, if you thought Terrorblade support was weird, well, rest assured this patch gets even weirder with the very hero you're looking at, Leshrac, as a support. And this could be a support pos 5 or pos 4, it really doesn't matter. And it is meta, believe it or not. If we look at Dota 2 Pro Tracker, we can see it just endlessly scrolls non-stop. So a lot of times when I'm looking at Dota 2 Pro Tracker, I see a lot of upcoming trends, but until they become more regularly established, I don't really speak about them until there's one, relevant information, and two, it becomes something more than, an interesting twist or someone really playing the hero differently than how it's usually expected to play. So as I was saying, out from under the heel of Mage Slayer, basically with its recent nerfs, comes Leshrac buffed across the 7.35 patch as an apology from the developers for nerfing Bloodstone into oblivion last patch. Now, while I understand Bloodstone has been buffed recently with the mana regeneration through its component of Voidstone, it's actually the improvement to Leshrac's Diabolic Edict, and more importantly, there's a crossroad of this meta needing early team fighting Warrior carriers, as well as Sanji Kaya getting buffed as well, which gives Leshrac a little more leeway or a little more value and capabilities come mid to late game. Now, in terms of history, Leshrac's story can be pretty much summarized pretty easily. He sucked, then he was good for a patch, then he sucked again. I think anybody who knows Leshrac pretty much knows that story. I think a lot of other heroes are kind of like that. They're good for a second and then they're gone. Basically, over the past year, Leshrac pretty much sucked, and most heroes could outlast him and could outlast his mostly magic-based damage as the matches went very late game, making Leshrac's high pushing, high tempo, fast damage, or rather high pushing, high damage, fast tempo approach lose its lusts in the drafts. In 7.35, they gave Bloodstone the feature to increase your AoE on your spells, and that made Leshrac very popular for a brief moment until in 7.35b, they removed the ability to regain mana from activating Bloodstone, making the hero again obsolete or extinct, however word you want to use to be exaggeratory. Anyway, in 7.3c, it kind of flipped the hero in an interesting way. And it's in a way I could never have conceived, that Leshrac not only starts to have a lot of presence during the lane stage, and more importantly, the lane stage becoming a very important time of the match as we head into a meta where it becomes mostly about early game auras and early game items. But more importantly, Leshrac now becomes very emphasized where everybody is mostly centered around mid-game team fighting, which thus leaves little room for catch-up if you have a bad lane, and it's why we see a lot of great safe lane carry junglers like Luna, Sven, and Slark that could come back from a bad lane or accelerate from having a good one. Now, for Leshrac, beyond all that convoluted sentence that sounded almost half improvised, 7.35 only gave one key change to the hero. And you're seeing it here, Diabolic Edict getting buffed. Doesn't look like it's huge, right? From 9 to 10 at level 1. I know it looks a little short for what would seem like a very influential change of roles from pos 2 to pos 4 or 5, but you need to understand that this level 1 change essentially makes Leshrac spit out about 400 damage on a single target and 700 plus by level 2. Level 3 is about 1,000, and then level 4 he does 1360 total pure damage, right? That's pure damage, so you're not mitigating that damage early on in the early game. Diabolic Edict is massive if you're maxing it out first, and that's exactly what is happening with support Leshrac. What's really annoying is that it cannot be juked by trees or fog of war effects, so if you catch an enemy support like we're about to see here, if you catch an enemy support out of position, then you're pretty much gonna have a bad day. I mean, look at this, there's like absolutely nothing interrupting Leshrac from just doing a ton of damage right there, and it's just absolutely annoying to deal with if you can't take them down. And that's the other part. The hero has some pretty great stats for a level 1 hero, for a level 1, level 2, 3 hero. I'll talk about in a second. So what's key about Diabolic Edict is that it's pure damage. It's 40 explosions across 10 seconds, and it really ruins your day, especially if you're like a melee support, which you see here with Elder Titan. Tiny Pos 4 is also a popular one that gets pretty much eaten out and spit out by Leshrac support. And it only costs 90 mana out of your 470 plus mana at level 3. So really this hero comes with a lot charged in the early game, and what we're seeing a lot now is that a lot of early game setup heroes are becoming popular supports, which you saw in my previous video, Batrider. Last key thing about this hero that maybe people don't realize, Leshrac has one of the highest movement speeds in the game. He has 325. I think there's only 9-10 other heroes who have similar, if not more, move speed than him. So yeah, he's just absolutely a nightmare early game, especially in the laning stage. So naturally playing at the position 4 or 5 for the hero can yield great results. We already know that Split Earth is a great stun, especially if it has setup of a popular offlaner, which we saw with Magnus in this game, but offlaners like Mars or Centaur are very meta right now. They're also fantastic with Leshrac. Split Earth also has good range. I'll show you guys the range real quick here. I mean, that's pretty decent. It's a pretty decent range. I don't know about you guys. It's got pretty good range, all things considered, right? It's just at level 1, it has the same range as Lion's Earth Spike. So if you're trying to kind of get a sense of how good that range is, that's a good example right there. It can be used also to guarantee last hits on range creeps that your opponent might be trying to deny, or to also punish them when they try to go for last hits or, you know, as I said before, denies. So how do you play Leshrac? Well, quite frankly, it's a bit straightforward, and it comes down to you understanding that you're trying to set tempo, kind of like Lycan. Lycan's a boss 3 though, but nonetheless, we talk about his early game prowess, which you saw just briefly there. Leshrac doesn't really roam. He usually tries to control his lane, bullies out enemy supports before taking down the tower with Diabolic Edict, and then maxing out Split Earth. So maybe I can fast forward just a tiny bit here, and you guys can take a look at that. I mean, he pretty much had taken down that tower. He TPs immediately here to fight that off. You see, once there's creeps though, he's pretty much screwed. He can't do a whole lot. Magnus is going to try and help him out here, but I don't think that's going to matter a whole lot. So once you kind of have that laning stage set for the hero, there's not a whole lot more to do except to keep the momentum going, right? The hero pretty much wants to start stacking camps. He wants to start farming up with his ultimate ability. He wants to get his core items. In any point, once he's kind of established his lane, as with most punching heroes, he's going to emphasize that early game tempo and push for his main item here. It's going to be Guardian Greaves for early game fight. Survivability, as his mid game fighting puts him at a massive risk. Also buffs up creep waves to push down the next set of towers. Once you win your team fights, there goes the tower. So Guardian Greaves kind of summarizes everything that Leshrac wants to do. There it is. Now you're gonna start putting tempo. Gets a fight in here. Diabolic Edict is maxed out, so gets completely wiped out. Gonna stack some more camps or take out those camps with his ultimate ability. Fantastic time for him. He's very happy about that. Basically, Guardian Greaves gives everything that Leshrac wants, right? He has to be in the middle of a fight because of Diabolic Edict, because of his ultimate, because of Split Earth. It's very risky for a hero like Leshrac, who has some early game strength, but down the line kind of falls down. More importantly, Guardian Greaves gives a lot of regeneration for a hero that is trying to survive. Gives him armor, gives him health regeneration, gives him some dispel, and gives him a big heal plus mana to keep his spells going. And then he can use that to farm stack camps with his abilities, right? Maxes out Split Earth, maxes out Diabolic Edict. Diabolic Edict max first and then Split Earth for second. So all that said, because of his limited mana, we don't really opt for Lightning Storm unless you're up against ranged heroes where you can grab one level as a slow. Let me slow down this speed for y'all. And then you set that up with Split Earth and close that gap to then launch into Diabolic Edict. Other items after Guardian Greaves, which is obviously used for also pushing, right? Yule's, Ag Shard, and Sajakaya are your follow-up items. Sounds like Sajakaya's buffs to have better... Sajakaya did get buffed in 7.35C to have better resistance, right? From 20 to 25%. The health regen also got buffed. It amplifies health regen, which obviously plays into your Greaves. and obviously more spell damage for your spells really helped kind of give this hero some leeway into that mid to late game with exceptional itemization. So after all that said, what are the ramifications for Leshrac? Well, is Leshrac support viable? Yes, I would say yes, but again, it is draft dependent, right? If you have a very passive offlaner, I'm sorry, you're not gonna be as effective or as valued as you once hoped you were. You're looking kind of to set tempo, keep it going for the hero. Mid game, he can obviously farm, but it won't be as nice as farming heroes. And in team fighting with the early game rush of maxing Diabolic Edict, excuse me. The longer the game goes, the less influence Leshrac will have as his enemies start to get tankier by blocking bar, dispels, or magic resist items. So we can kind of see why Leshrac, who's all about doing things right now in the early to mid game, with a meta that's kind of leaning more and more towards that because they don't want to get to these late games of these, of dealing with Faceless Void 6-slotted. Kind of makes sense that we're starting to see this hero get a lot of popularity, at least as a position 4 or 5 support hero. So basically what Leshrac does is the same as a mid laner, but without taking a core role, which we talked about kind of with Batrider, right? Batrider used to be a mid laner, but now he can kind of achieve the same thing as a pos 4. Look at that beautiful play right there. Leshrac can push down towers with Diabolic Edict, has great setup or fall through with a split earth, and his early game stats give him a lot of survivability. I think he has pretty much the same stats as Nyx Assassin, right? Nyx Assassin has 5 armor versus Leshrac's 4. They both have some 100 health with the same stats, or relatively same stats, same stat items, right? Iron Branch and Circlet. So it's actually pretty impressive that I wouldn't say this hero has been overlooked, but more the reality of how much similarity the hero has with a lot of other supports that we're seeing in this meta. So all that rambling to say, and to conclude, Diabolic Edict's buff in 7.35C has revitalized Leshrac as not just as a core mid laner, but now also as a support hero for tempo setting lineups. Leshrac's comfort in being in the middle of the fight, having strong pure damage with Diabolic Edict, and the meta leaning more towards early game fights and aura care gives way for Leshrac to build Garden Greaves. Leshrac's early game survivability and setups with common offlane cores makes him incredibly influential during the most emphasized stage of a match. So that says everything I have to say about this subject. Quick video today as I'm likely in the air or landing in Taipei, Taiwan. If you like this video or my hero builds, please let me know or share my content. Some of you guys are watching this on Twitter. Please check out my YouTube where this is posted much earlier and I assume higher quality. Twitter's not the best, but these kind of small, just sharing my videos or just telling people about my videos really helps me grow. And eventually maybe I'll be able to do this stuff more sustainably, albeit at least kind of offset some of the costs. Thanks again and have a good morning.